Hello, everyone! Blue Star Saber here, once again to give you another Star Wars Andor review, Episode 6, The Iron, which is the third and final episode of the second story arc, in which is a mission to on Aladan, in which heist episode, or the heist storyline, if you will, in which Andor and the Rebel team end up pulling off their heist and see whether or not they succeed or fail and all that stuff. Their lives depend on whether or not they succeed and fail, and even perhaps the beginning or help begin the birth of the rebellion, if you will. It would deal a devastating blow to the Empire and the sector at the very least. But yes, to begin the episode and all that stuff, Andor ends up chatting to Kaz Nemek, who's in says to the mission and gives him some advice on how to relax and how, when the time comes, he'll probably feel calm. In which they end up talking to each other a bit, and he probably realizes that Glenn might not always be his real name, but being a mercenary, could be a useful too, and all that stuff. And agrees with him how the Empire doesn't really play the rules or cares about them. Nemek hopes to put their ideals into action tomorrow and all that stuff, and ends up telling him that he's grateful he's here despite his lack of trust. Meanwhile, we end up seeing the Imperial commander here, someone called Jehobeho, who is briefing his officers and all that stuff, and I think and mocks like the indigenous people of this thing for their culture and all that stuff. Even talking to his lieutenant about something about how they've managed to reduce the visitors to this area from I believe 15,000 to 60 and all that stuff. And I think from this guy it seems he's very he really wants to make a good impression to the inspectors that are coming and all that stuff. As he ends up telling his wife and son to dress smart and all that stuff. So there's that. During this time, you have everyone moving into their positions, and I think Andor learns that Taraman Bracona was actually a member of the Stormtrooper Corps, and they are wearing Imperial uniforms and get up and all that stuff, which I kind of do like the get up, despite the fact that it is supposed to be of a. I do kind of like this sort of Imperial armor. They seem chest plate armor they have over their regular Imperial uniforms. I don't know, I'm a sucker for armor, even though I'm probably not for armor for the bad guys, but still. And all that stuff. So they're all in position and all that stuff, and I think Santina Kaz and Val. Stake out and then start climbing walls and that stuff throughout the episode to infiltrate. But yeah. Anyway, the Imperials end up meeting the natives. I hope they wish them good for them, and they exchange goat things. But you can see the natives clearly dislike the Imperials here when they just immediately burn their gift and all that stuff, hoping that clearly not liking, but they're enjoying the festival. Anyway, Gorn, the Imperial commander, his family, this one dude they're called Petiga, I think another Imperial officer here, and with Andor's team and all that stuff, start to go inside, and then they hold them hostage while Gorn waits outside, making sure no one comes in, while our two rebel girls, go upstairs and I think integrate the comms. Eventually, the two groups meet, and they holding the family hostage. Though I think they end up killing a Pentagon and all that stuff. That one Imperial with the commander, J-Hope Bezar and all that stuff, with Cynthia Kaz, ends up, I think, at some point dressing up as Imperial, and he ends up keeping an eye on the hostages that they do have, because they capture quite a few more. Eventually, Andor's team, along with Val, with like the main Imperial, go to like the girl. Let's see where all the credits are and all that stuff. Force the crew that are standing by there to dig the gold and all that stuff, and they speed it up, trying to hurry as fast as they can because other Imperials start to get suspicious. During which this bit here, Gorn ends up coming in and all that stuff with the. Jan Barzar ends up being furious about this betrayal and all that stuff, telling him he'll hang for this, though. He said, though, in return, Gorn says, 7 years serving you. I deserve worse than that. Showing his distaste and all that stuff for the whole operation and all that stuff. Let's see, serving him for all those years. Eventually, an Imperial does come. I think one of the ones that was very secure, very concerned outside. Let's see, that were outside in the post watching and all that stuff. Let's see, ends up, getting TIE fighters into action or calling them to get ready and all that stuff, while he takes a few Imperials. Let's see, despite Gon's best bet to try and order him not to stay away, eventually, I think it fails most because I think Jar Bahaz has a sort of, let's see, heart attack when loading the credits and all that stuff. And at this point, I think that the charade ends up falling apart. And a fist fight ends up happening with Gon being shot during the fight. And then later, of course, Tam and Brackon, as the others are like loading and fighting a bit. But eventually, the crew, what the crew that's still in there manages to escape, but one of the crate things end up crashing into, Karas Nemec, breaking his spine and all that stuff, which gets the other, the other two, and Alpha Skin and Val trying to keep him busy, while Andor's trying to pilot like the ship and all that stuff, being chased by TIE fighters on the star thing, flying map blind until eventually they're able to put in the map thing. During the whole thing, the locals are celebrating their, Star Festival thing, if you will, or their Eye Festival, or the eyes, or the meteor showers and all that stuff, as it crashes into a few of the Imperial TIE fighters. And I think they end up seeing some of the ships take off, but they end up escaping to a planet called, Frenosona and all that stuff. And during this thing, they go to visit someone called Dr. Quadpa, I believe, who is trying his best to, who is, I believe, I don't really know. Well, it's some sort of four-limbed, doctor, probably an alien, Star Wars alien of some sort. I'm not sure if it's one of the ones that we've seen before and all that stuff, but he's trying to help Karas Namek and all that stuff. And while that's going on, Averil Skin ends up trying to offer Andor how they should take the cargo with all the credits and split 50-50 with 40 million credits each, trying to hide and all that stuff. Andor questioning why he do this because, well, because he hates the Empire and that stuff. But he seems like he cares more about his own life and rather just lay low with all that money and all that stuff. And wouldn't really give a good damn of what Andor does afterwards, as he knows he's a mercenary and all that stuff and doesn't really believe in the cause. However, Andor shoots him, killing him, possibly possibly disgusted by this guy's actions and all that stuff, and given probably a few accusations early and all that stuff. Ends up going to Val, demanding that he's just going to take the credits that he's owned and all that stuff. Tells him that he killed Ava Skin, informing her of her treachery. She doesn't quite necessarily believe it, but he says that's the only option you can believe in all that stuff, and tends to just head off, giving her the Kyber crystal to give back to Rel and all that stuff. When she sees him again, let's see, she does comply with this and that stuff, but she also gives him let's see, Karas Nemec's manifesto as a dying wish. Let's see, saying that he wanted him to have it and all that stuff. He takes it reluctantly and all that stuff, and then heads off. I should probably mention that during the whole thing, when they escape, Sonata Cast leaves the hostages behind and dresses up, and this is where she dresses up the Imperial. Ritzy ends up hanging with the natives for a bit before walking off, suddenly getting out of sight before she gets in trouble and all that stuff. Meanwhile, I think Mon Mothma and her husband are going to a trip, going on a flight around Coruscant for a bit. She ends up telling her husband what the driver's name is. I'm going to stop. And eventually, I think she ends up discussing, blockade thing that she was talking about. I forgot what it was called, actually. Let me just get the Wikipedia page and all that stuff. Let's see. I've forgotten, but it's some sort of like blockade that the Empire's treating thing. Tries to get the senators to listen, but they're just not interested in ignoring or leaving, making it look like seeing how her efforts are pointless and all that stuff from the looks of things. And meanwhile, as the heist happened and all that stuff, the ISB agency agents have all gathered. Let's see, to formulate what to do after a response to this heist and all that stuff. As we see quite a few of the people there. Let's see the leader, the two rivals, and all that stuff there. And yeah, let's see, building up towards whatever they're going to do next. And Ral ends up, trying to, make a deal with a customer. Ends up mentioning about the planet, about Anfondor and all that stuff. About artwork and language to a thing. But to a wife looking for some, symbols and all that stuff to a lost culture. While I believe the husband ends up telling them that I think it's the husband, but I think it's someone that ends up. It might have been the wife itself, and I really should have what we watch these episodes. But they end up telling Cal that the heist was successful there, and he goes to the back room to listen and all that stuff, making the excuse that he's trying to find some other pieces and all that stuff, and celebrates Andor's and the crew's success, ending the episode. First off, I'd like to say are the things that I liked in this at the beginning of the episode is where Andor and Karsnaras has that conversation, and instead of him having a black and white view about who those who believe in the cause and not, concludes that okay, given the fact that who they're up against in war and all that stuff, having mercenaries are like a necessary evil, all that stuff, and is glad that Andor's at least here fighting on their side rather than the Empire, and seems to at least agree with with Andor about how the Empire doesn't give a damn and doesn't take him seriously and all that stuff. And I do like his idea about how, okay, after we've done stuff like this, they hope they'll take them more seriously afterwards, even though Andor's a bit reluctant to do so. But it's nice to have that. And it's rather tragic what happens to him with the spinal, crash thing in the crates when I figured he'd be one of the ones to survive, but I guess I was wrong on that. But yeah, he ends up dying but to make sure that at least, try and help Andor follow the cause and all that stuff here. And all that stuff. I think I do like how he ends up asking Val when he's dying to give, Andor the manifesto for his ideals, to try and give Andor something to fight for and against the Empire and all that stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised when Andor, when he's on his own, reads the manifesto at some point, and maybe it helps sway him to actually be a believer in the Rebels' cause and all that stuff, to fight against the Empire and all that stuff. So yeah, that's nice and all that stuff. Anyway, I do like how we end up with the Imperial villain that we have, Gerald Buzzer, is clearly what you expect from like let's see, imperialist occupy and all that stuff. Let's see, he doesn't like the natives, doesn't like their traditions, customs, mocks how they've, let's see, they're increasing to like his subordinates over the time, doesn't really want to be here, wants to get promoted and all that stuff, and do anything to ensure it, and forcing his family to dress smart and appear and all that stuff, even if the son might appear to be ill and all that stuff. But once he's killed hostage, he's like, let's see, he's not as calm and collected, though granted he does handle it. He's not as cocky and all that stuff, though. He does handle it rather well and when once been forced to, but I do like his reaction to when seeing him, like his lieutenant end up being, he ended up betraying him and all that stuff, saying, I hope you hang for this, though. Yeah. And I do find it interesting how he seems to, let's see, interesting where he ends up dying instead of just being shot by rebels and all that stuff or accidental misfire or something, but instead he dies of a heart attack, which is very rare death in Star Wars, from what I can tell. But either way, he ended up dying, and so did his like some of it, subordinates, who I think was shot by a Tina Kaz, who I will admit didn't feel like did much besides that infiltrating bit with the climbing the walls bit. I think she shot the Imperial, but I do like how. But I do find it like how. I do find it interesting how she didn't end up being like a part of the crew when they escaped and all that stuff. Instead, keeping an eye on the hostages and then escaping in the background, disguised as an Imperial and all that stuff. But yeah, and all that escape. But mostly among the native population and all that stuff. Anyway, I do like how we got to see the native people of this planet. So let's see, show their distaste of the Empire, their occupation here, especially throwing away their gifts during this continuing the celebration, all that stuff. But I guess, but with the way that let's see, but how it went from 15,000 to like 60. Kind of shows you just how much the Empire's occupation has affected the culture of like the people here and all that stuff, where they can no longer celebrate their traditions and all that stuff. But see, so they do have to do these small protests if they want to survive. As for Tom and Bracona, I do like how Andor ends up learning how he used to be a stormtrooper, and it gives you, and I kind of mentioned that in the case earlier and all that stuff. I do like how in previous review, but it ends up making him confirm okay why he's let's see so good at this, and let's see Stormtrooper, let's see Imperial March and all that stuff, and probably gives you an idea that okay, a former Stormtrooper lost faith in the course, like Gorn. I do like how Gorn remains calm and collected when talking to his superior that he detests, listening to his BS, if you will, and eventually when he finally does, and making sure that no one hears them what they're doing and all that stuff, and ends up let's see ends up faking and when it finally and when he ends up finally let's see, able to expose himself, he is able to say this distaste to his superior about how long he's wanted, about how 7 years serving him was just like, was punishment enough, or was what, or how he deserved worse for serving a guy like that. I do like how he tried to desperately try to make like, oh wait, this is not a hostage situation, but fails and ends up dying. So yeah, it is interesting how we get like 3 actual casualty deaths during this fight, and I do like how the Britty gunfights goes, and I do like how in the bit of Andor's, he's a bit of a hand-to-hand strangling each other fight a bit when let's see, when one of the hostages that was helping move the things tries to strangle him and all that stuff, but he gets, I believe, saved by either Garrus, Nemec, or Vel and all that stuff, but yeah. But yeah, there were a lot more casualties on this escape thing when I thought there'll just be the 1, but yeah, it ended up being 2 and 1 dying later. With the last one turning out that I do like the space chase and all that stuff through the asteroids. Great effects, by the way. So that was good. I do like how, but anyway, but the shocking thing is to find out that let's see, Other Skin ends up deciding that, let's see, to Andor about how they should, just take the credits and go, showing the lack of care for the cause, and that he's a bit more of a every man for himself kind of person, despite his motivations of revenge. But he doesn't really want to do it if he's going to die long term and all that stuff. And given the fact that since it's only Val left with them paralyzed and dying and all that stuff, and just Andor, this shaky mercenary that's just met, figured like, you know what, may as well take the chance. But it seems that he seemed to underestimate that Andor himself might have a bit of a conscience himself, ends up shooting him and all that stuff. So let's see which. The way I see Andor shooting him is just like he's just shooting him to not, let's see, go to the temptation and just quickly avert it. But given the fact that he did probably also end up killing him, probably realize that Val probably won't be happy about it long term. So just ends up asking her to just take the credits he was paid for and leaves and just gives them the crystal thing. Well, I do like how she seems to be denying that her comrades could be capable of things and all that stuff, and a bit angry at Andor, but just accepts anything, but at least willing to take her comrade's dying wish of like giving the manifesto and all that stuff. And she trying to parting terms with Andor. Whether or not she'll meet him again, who knows? Though I believe she will have at least one more episode where she goes to when she meets up with Carl and informs of what happened with Andor and all that stuff. So yeah, I do like how the ISB, been informed of the heist thing and see this as a serious matter. And this is where I think our female member is finally able to probably persuade the boss that, okay, there's clearly some bigger operation going on. Let her investigate, especially once Andor comes in. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is when somehow also how Cyril Khan, who's been our main antagonist for like the first arc and has been, let's see, few recurring small cameo roles in the last two episodes. First time has not appeared here, but I guess it goes to show that, yeah, only Andor is going to appear in every episode and all that stuff. So, yeah, but I suppose it's nice to just leave that off screen, and we'll probably see him again in the next episode or two once, let's see, the next storyline goes forward and all that stuff. Other than that, I liked seeing Mon Mothma, seeing a bit of Coulson and Mon Mothma's exploits and all that stuff. I like how she seems to remember the cab driver's name, speed driver's name, and all that stuff. I like how she tries her best to get the senators to listen to the plight of these people of the certain planet and all that stuff. But you can just goes into despair as people are just not listening and walking away and all that stuff. As I think she starts to see more about how it seems to be pointless to try and do these cases, which I think eventually leads to like her declaration in Star Wars Rebel that there's no point in opposing the Empire's brutality. Before, though, granted, I do believe that we're still at least 3 years away before her declaration stuff, so she'll probably still be keeping it secret. But yeah, which might be one of the only reasons why Andor's not doing like 5 seasons for a year and all that stuff. So there's that. I do like how Ral ends up learning it by having learning news of the success of this heist, from a bunch of customers he's serving, and uses the excuse of going to the back to try and do his quiet celebration. I am curious to see how he will react when Val tells him that Andor took the credits that he was promised for, gave her back the Kyber crystal, and then just walked off somewhere with a shuttle and all that stuff. Let's see. I think he'll probably be disappointed that Andor's not, fully committed to the cause, but I think he will definitely try to find Andor again at some point and try to convince him to, it's worth joining the rebellion and all that stuff. Come on, we probably need you and all that stuff. So yeah, that'll be an interesting conversation. Might be a bit of hostility first because, well, I'm pretty sure Andor doesn't really want to see him again and all that stuff, but who knows? overall, I definitely say for each story arc, the third episode has been the best, and there's no exception here, as they've just mostly been built up to like what's going on before like the action pieces and all that stuff. Let's see. I definitely say this is. I'd probably say that this might be the best episode so far. Let's see, the heist. Let's see, succeeded, but there were casualties. There were let's see, there was some treachery and all that stuff. Andor, let's see, trying to leave us. Let's see what he can and all that stuff, but he has been given a manifesto that may help him. Let's see, join up to the ideals of rebellion and all that stuff. And yeah. And also seeing Mon Mothma struggling and just seeing Cal happy. Let's see, and let's see the Imperial starting to take perhaps the rebellions more seriously, or at least this heist seriously. But yeah, overall, I think it's like a 9 to 10 rating I would give it. So yeah, around that number. Very good episode. I'm really looking forward to. I'm really enjoying Andor. Granted, from what I'm hearing, the viewers are not up to Disney's expectations and that stuff. So I suppose it's probably a good thing that Andor only has like 2 seasons and all that stuff. So let's see. So I'm not like canceling it and all that stuff. But yeah. But hopefully that will change now that She-Hulk has probably ended and all that stuff. Let's see. There's a lot more space for like people to watch on Disney Plus. Granted, I know some think like, okay, probably due to the backlash of Kenobi and all that stuff. But it might be just that Andor is just not as iconic a character to draw in people as much as, say, you know, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Boba Fett, and just Mandalorians in general. But we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, so far I definitely say Andor is probably the best show, tied with The Mandalorian in terms of live action so far. But yeah, I'm really enjoying the show. Hopefully the second season will still go. I'm really hoping that episode 7 will follow up with the last few episodes. I'm not sure if this is like the 2-episode or 1-episode story, or it's another 3-episode yet, but I need to double check on that. But either way, or at least I'm assuming that because like, let's see, from what I'm hearing from each story arc, they've had a different director and all that stuff, and that might be what they're doing, but I could be wrong. But yeah, for those who end up listening to this review, I hope you enjoy it. Let's see. I am Blue Star Saber, signing off. May the Force be with you. And with that, goodbye.